All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Wolf. Happy Thursday morning. It's good to see everyone here. 10:30 a.m. Eastern, clocking in here for the coffee break. The goal here is to give you back your time rather than taking it. 10, 15, 20-minute max streams. I never want to go really over half an hour for these because, like I said, the goal is to get you informed before the day gets too crazy. Man, it's early, but I will say the last 18 hours or so has been pretty insane. Obviously, I'm sure the internet has, for most people on the internet, they heard about Charlie Kirk and the shooting. I honestly am just at a complete loss. I can't not address it, even if I'm nervous too on Wolf because it's like the brand account. But yeah, I've seen millions of clips of Charlie. That was quite literally the worst thing I've ever seen. I mean, that was a pure execution. So, man, that was very hard to. Yesterday was very hard. We canceled the shows in the afternoon. It just didn't feel right. It was not good. Not a good day. Not a good day. So I prayed a lot yesterday. Sorry to start off the show like that. I feel like it would be very weird to not address that. I mean, that was a bad moment. That really sucked. So anyways, I'm going to try to move on. There has been a bunch of stuff going on in the Bitcoin news. So we'll reset and we'll jump to the first topic here. But yeah, big shout out to Charlie Kirk. Prayers to your family and God bless. And hopefully haven't gained another warrior. But Earth did lose another. So just something to note that if you're planning on like the world really needs courage right now is what I'll say. I'm just hesitant to say anything else just because it's so fresh. But the world needs more courage. Yesterday was awful. So anyways, let's switch lanes here and jump into the Bitcoin world. A lot of stuff has happened. If you can see in the actual title, it looks like South Korea to lift Bitcoin venture business restrictions. Winklevoss twins are in some hot water right now. They just went live with their IPO with Gemini, and some texts were leaked from some very, very high people that are important. Not something you want a leak coming from, basically. And it was rather shocking. I couldn't believe it. So that was a couple stories, a couple NASDAQ related partnerships with some crypto companies that I found rather strange, I guess you could probably put it. And I'm not exactly sure what direction they're trying to go with it, but those are some of the top stories. So anyways, yeah, I'll save the Winklevoss ones towards the end, but let's take a look at the markets here as well in a second. The first thing I want to start with is the South Korea story. But first thing you got to address, spot Bitcoin ETFs. $741 million worth of Bitcoin yesterday. Insane. The paper Bitcoin conversation versus self-custody Bitcoin conversation is going to be the biggest one in the next 5 years. I highly encourage you to study up and prepare yourself to get onto cold storage, because if there's 1 billion Bitcoin out there, but we only know that there's 21 million, then there's something wrong here. There's too much paper Bitcoin being created right now. And if everyone's buying it up, you got to ask yourself at some point, who's got the real Bitcoin? So just something to keep in mind, if it's all sitting in Robinhood, at least get the conversation in your head going of how do I move this a little bit, a portion of this into cold storage here. Interesting stuff here as we move into South Korea to recognize Bitcoin and crypto businesses. As venture firms granting access to tax breaks and financial support. Asia's getting ready and came over to this tab actually, and we have from Cointelegraph. Yeah, they're planning to lift. It's so crazy, man. I'm not exactly sure what to expect. Everything in my soul tells me this is a top. I mean, good Lord, everybody is here right now. It's got to be a top, right? Like, I mean, it's like every story. And now we have South Korea coming out, and they're down. They're seeing what the United States is doing. I saw a video from one of the advisors to Putin in Russia, and he was like, "Hey, clearly the United States is making a decision here to go on to these crypto rails to, essentially." Get down their US dollar, devalue it so much that they kind of just switch over to the stablecoin economy by accident. Not by accident, but the United States average person will not realize or care. And we will have effectively erased all our debts is kind of what they're thinking. And who knows if that ends up happening. But it's very fascinating. A lot of countries are watching. Eyes are on the United States for sure. But yeah, Asia is a huge, huge economy. Guys, I mean, if Asia goes all in on Bitcoin, it's going to get pretty rowdy in here. I can see Bitcoin pushing over, definitely over $250,000 in that kind of scenario. So yeah, wild stuff. Let's jump over to the chart of Bitcoin here. I'm going to share screen with Ostium. who is sponsoring the show today. And they sponsor basically every show. These guys are legends and partners, longtime partners of the show, the spaces and the podcast and all the things. Shout out to Ostium for this. They are the number one place to trade crypto. If you're looking to trade Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, or the NASDAQ, if you're trying to trade the indices, if you want to trade Tesla, even, there's so many things you can do. And it's all in one place with up to 100x leverage. And you can check them out at ostium.com. I'm actually going to right now, I put it in the comments here on YouTube and X here. If you guys want to check them out, I'll put a link down to Ostium if you guys want to check them out. But like I said, it's a great platform and you can trade, you can do everything there. And you can also just check out the chart of Bitcoin and all the other ones you want to look at. But here we are on the 1 hour for Bitcoin. Yeah, dude, Bitcoin really needs to get out of here. Like it needs to make this exact area we're at, this 113, 114 area has got to become support. If it doesn't, we're going to roll over, bro. I mean, that's just what's going to happen. It feels like, and it's just going to be a long, tedious one of these kind of guys. I'm not sure after that. It's really been tough to predict these markets, but we really got to flip this to become support because this is getting a little bit old here. And by the way, if you're on X, I am pasting the Ostium link down in the first comment below the stream. Please check it out. So let us know what you guys think and give Ostium a go. They're a great platform. I think you guys will love working with them. You can trade, you can do all the things here on Ostium. But yeah, Bitcoin really needs to flip this. I mean, this needs to move here, I think, for sure. And anyways, I want to move on to stories. And I'm having a little bit of trouble here on my technical side because I have a couple tabs doing two different things right now. And I just realized I switched between accounts while I was doing that. And so now every tab I might have to refresh. So that's fantastic. I'll skip over that, but there was an interesting story here. Metaplanet completed a recent Bitcoin raise, and I believe it was $1.4 billion. So let's jump to this tab here. Yeah, they raised 205 billion yen, which is equivalent to $1.4 billion to buy and to purchase more Bitcoin. And so Metaplanet just still going hard and continuing on their Bitcoin journey, adding more Bitcoin to the balance sheet. A couple other companies also are doing this. One of them, Robin Energy Ltd. They're one of these guys in here, a Cyprus-based company building owning ships and providing energy transport services, completed its first initial $5 million Bitcoin allocation within a treasury framework. So I'm not exactly sure all the details here, but at the very least, companies are starting to add Bitcoin to their balance sheets. And that's a better thing than not. You know, the idea of switching your entire business model to now we're a Bitcoin company, we just like do Bitcoin and buy Bitcoin. That's not really an idea, I don't think. But I think the idea of companies adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet as an asset to boost their everything where they look better. And, you know, currently MicroStrategy is able to add it to their earnings somehow. And so it's a huge boost. I think it's a great idea. If you believe in Bitcoin, obviously, then, you know, you holding cash reserves versus Bitcoin makes no sense. You're going to hold Bitcoin. And so that's just what makes the most sense. And so I think this is great. We're seeing a lot more of this. I hope they're not all foaming at the top just to sell. It depends on what kind of perspective they have on the markets and how much they really understand Bitcoin, I think. Let's move on here to the next story. Interesting one here. Very strange. This is the story I was talking about earlier. And we're going to get to the Winklevoss story here in a second, guys. But the NASDAQ, Sharps Technology announced a strategic partnership with Pudgy Penguins to bring exposure and connectivity to the Solana digital asset treasury space. Ticker STSS, by the way, recently acquired over $2 million of Solana worth around 2 million Solana worth around $400 million. So I guess I understand. So Sharps Technology, if we look over, I mean, just for context, I just want to be completely honest. I mean, so here's the chart, right? This is the 1 month chart. So it looks pretty good, right? You're like, okay, obviously the news came out, they pumped, and then it, you know, kind of corrected 50%, but you zoom it out, man, 1 year. I'm sitting here going like, why are we reporting on this again? Like, why is this cool? Why do we want to bring attention to Sharp? Who is Sharps Technology? What does that even mean? So anyways, yeah, Sharps Technology, that's what they're up to. I guess I can see the play because Pudgy Penguins IP is stronger than people think. I feel like people kind of make fun of it almost, and they're like, it's just NFTs. But the Pudgy Penguins, I mean, dude, they're moving here. And if you've seen them on social media, they pull crazy numbers. And they're a brand not to be messed with in the crypto space, I'll say. They're one of the only forces worth to be reckoned with, I guess you could say, in the crypto world, in my opinion. Certainly in the NFT space, there's really not many options here. Pudgy Penguins is definitely in the lead. They're the top one. There's a reason they've retained a ridiculous amount of value. The fact you would pay tens of thousands of dollars for a photo of a penguin is insane to me in 2025, to be honest. And I was in the NFT bull run in 2021. I get it back then, but 2025 to buy it is crazy to me. So anyways, yeah, Pudgy Penguins, great IP, and they're partnering up. But their main thing is they want to see Solana win. I'll be honest, after seeing Solana business with the Charlie Kirk execution that happened yesterday and seeing 1,000 coins, that made my stomach really not. That made me really not like Solana, to be honest. Of course, I knew that was going to happen. I've seen it happen 1,000 times with various celebrities, but to see it happen to Charlie, bro, I'm like, do you guys even know? Like, Charlie is one of the only good ones left, bro. He was one of the only good ones left. Like, of all the people to take, he was not the one to take. So I really hated to see that, all those tokens dropping with Charlie's name on it. That's really sucked to see. So wasn't a big fan of that, to be honest, from Solana. Moving forward into another token that people associate with Solana, an arch competitor, I guess you'd call it, is Ethereum. We've got mortgage lender Lit Financial launching a US dollar-backed stablecoin, Lit USD. It's going to be on Ethereum, issued by Braille XYZ and Stably Official, designed to cut treasury costs and bring transparency to their company. So rather interesting. They're stepping into the stablecoin space like a lot of other companies because they're finding that it's a lot better, and I think this is going to be the greatest co-op of all time. We've got a enormous amount of debt. It's so insane. I can't even begin to describe how insane it is, how much debt we have. And the fact that we're about to move over to these crypto rails, and the more people get out of the traditional markets and then begin buying our US based stablecoin, which will come, our dollar continues to get devalued because no one's buying the dollar because they're buying the new currency, this new US stablecoin, whether or not it's, I'm not sure exactly how it's going to roll out, but it makes perfect sense. Of course, the traditional finance world would move to crypto rails because they can quite literally they can wipe the debt and nobody will know. Nobody will care. Like the main news outlets are going to be like freaking out and they're going to cover it, but like, they're not going to know. I mean, you guys see the traditional media, they have no idea what they're talking about. They're not like on the ground floor the way we are, and I think that's the main difference with traditional media and alternative media is that. And if that ever changes, we will just become traditional media. But it's really just the fact that like we're on Spaces, right? So if you're watching on YouTube, for example, our main platform is on X or Twitter, and we do video, audio, we do all sorts of stuff there. But the main thing is audio X Spaces, very much like radio, but it's like direct call-in style, like Dave Ramsey. You can have multiple people on the panel. It's like a CNBC kind of thing, but audio. It's like a Fox Business finance show, and we're out there. We're like in the trenches. Like we're literally trading in the trenches sometimes, and we're talking about these things that are happening. And we're like, hey, like this guy said this thing, Basent said this, but then did this thing over here, and then like this other guy bought this. So like what they're saying is not adding up. And that's like the main difference here is that the traditional media doesn't bother covering that because they're walking in at 8 a.m. They're being handed a script and they're saying, here's what happened. You don't need to do any research. You don't need to ask anyone about it. You don't need to go look through the comments. You don't have to confirm with anyone. And that's the main difference here, I would say. So anyways, really interesting stuff from Lit Financial. But yeah, they're going to be rolling out the US dollar stablecoin on Ethereum. It's going to be backed 1-to-1 with cash reserves. This is just, it's all experimentation until the real one comes. I mean, Bo Hines is not a secret, left DC and went straight to Tether. I mean, dude, Bo Hines, like whatever he was, executive chairman of crypto, whatever in the government, 29-year-old random dude came out of nowhere. Bro literally spawned out of nowhere. He like played football and made a couple Bitcoin tweets and he became like the Washington, whatever. And then like 2 months later, he leaves and goes to Tether a week later, USDT Tether. This is our future, fam. Stack Bitcoin and you got to self-custody that. Okay. Here's the Winklevoss story. This is the one that was kind of circulating online. A lot of leaked tweets and stuff like this. This was like a top story, I guess you could call it. To be honest, I just wasn't able to pay attention to much yesterday besides Charlie Kirk. But, this is the reality situation. essentially Gemini went to go with their IPO recently, if you guys remember, and 48 hours before, it looks like a very important person leaked some very private texts, including the Winklevoss twins lobbying for a pause on nomination for Brian Quinter's. Essentially, they don't like this guy, and they were saying he's unnecessarily been coming after us. We want confirmation, that like this is not going to happen. And they're kind of pushing for it. It was a bit inappropriate, I guess you could call it. And so, this guy in charge, the CFTC chair, was like, "Hey, Trump put me in charge to do this. I don't really feel comfortable not putting this out there because this feels like a breach." It's like the easiest way I could put it. And so they were looking for certain assurances, retaining what they would call the agency's lawfare trophy hunting, in which they were saying, you guys were just kind of hunting for nothing. And he said, "I can't provide that. I don't know what to tell you. I guess just, I don't have any answers for you," is all he could really say. And if you read these text messages on X, they're all on X. You'll find these messages. And yeah, he was basically like, "I don't know what to tell you. I will look through it. I can't confirm anything." And the Gemini twin guys were like, "You have to, like, here's the situation. Like, you have to." I don't know, dude. I feel like this is a story blown way out of proportion. I think this was dumb. I feel like I didn't clickbait you because there were so many clicks and views that this is what you wanted. But like, I hope you are better. I'm like, did that solve anything for you? I'm like, why do we need to do that? Billy, what's up, man? It's good to see you. It's great to have you. By the way, earlier I made that CTA for Ostium. I have it here in the comments on X and YouTube here. If you guys want to check it out, definitely recommend checking out Ostium and trading over there. So anyways, here's the final story. Got just a couple minutes left here in the stream. Binance and Franklin Templeton partnered to develop digital asset products. Binance really moving up here lately. They flipped a couple, I think a BlackRock and a couple other market cap. And Binance is really starting to make headway here. I think it's worth noting that the top companies in crypto are probably going to be here in the same way that the top NFT companies are still around, in the crypto world. And it kind of goes in tiers, right? It's like Bitcoin, and there's crypto, and then there's NFTs, and it's like this tiered thing. And what's up, OTG? It's good to see you guys in the house. Doing these coffee break streams just a few minutes before the spaces. Eventually, we'll move to 11 a.m. Eastern Market Talk spaces every day. And so it's going to basically go from, the 15, 20 minutes before straight into the spaces is kind of the idea, just to get caught up ahead. But anyways, I do think it's going to be the case that CZ, Brian Armstrong, right? Michael Saylor, some of these top guys in these companies that are in the digital assets realm, they're going to be big forces because they're coming in with a different type of business model, oftentimes on a financial system that's not like it's been in the past, right? And so, like for example, MicroStrategy gets left out of the S&P. Not a crazy surprise, but you can understand that there's no way the traditional finance bros are going to be okay with MicroStrategy just cutting the line and not doing anything but buy Bitcoin and just fly to the top of the charts. They're like, that's cheating. Like, no. We need to control you a little bit. We gotta train you a little bit and make sure you don't just get too haywire here. But it's undeniable that they're fiery. Michael Saylor goes on Squawk Box, for example. He's going to get 1 million views on that clip, but some random guy is not. And so because CZ, Brian Armstrong, some of these guys are in such a ridiculously upholden position with such ridiculous amounts of followers, I mean, I don't see a world where stable coins, crypto, and Bitcoin is not the top conversation on Wall Street in the next 5 to 10 years, or probably in the next 2 to 5 years, actually. And so if that becomes the case, I mean, I think it's undeniable Bitcoin, because it's the finite supply, it's going to get crazy. We'll see what happens. Hopefully we don't crash and, these streams aren't marking the absolute top, but if they are, hopefully I'm still employed and I can keep continuing to DCA into the positions. Guys, listen, that is all we got today in the coffee break. Like I said, the goal is to give you back your time here, not take it, and keep these streams 10 to 30 minutes long. Just go through the top stories, get you caught up on everything that's going on. Again, if you haven't already, please do check out Ostium. They're the number one place to trade all things going on in crypto. They're a fantastic platform. You can trade any and all things Bitcoin, crypto, or Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, whatever you want. You can trade the indices. You can trade the S&P 500. You can trade the NASDAQ. You can trade, you can trade literally everything there. It's a fantastic platform. So definitely recommend checking it out. And it's all 100x leverage. You can trade with leverage. You can do all the things. Highly recommend checking it out. It's right here in the comments on our YouTube stream. And if you're on X, it is in the comment down below the stream as well. Guys, listen, we'll catch you guys all in the next space. We have streams and spaces every single day here at Wolf. The next space is set to start here. I think it may have started 10 minutes ago, actually, on Flux. We co-host that one for the next week or so. We're going to be switching over from Wolf Bitcoin, we rebranded from Wolf Crypto to now Wolf Bitcoin. But we have Wolf Crypto as well. They're just on another company account. And so Wolf Crypto is also doing spaces and stuff like that. And so they will be taking over some of the more crypto content, and Wolf Bitcoin will be moving to more just trading content and Bitcoin education content, macroeconomic content, things like that. That's kind of the future. But yeah, we have that space. And then I think the next Wolf Bitcoin space will be the real world assets space starting here at 2 p.m. Eastern, rolls into the Bitcoin mining space at 3 p.m. Market talk with the traders at 4. And I think we may have 1 or 2 shows after that. And we'll be back on stream here tomorrow at 10:45 a.m. Eastern. Take care, everybody.